to talk about how virtual meetings and virtual conversations might not be enough for us in order to be able to know each other in intimate ways. But we are dealing with challenges that all the challenges that arise from what we are experiencing during this quarantine. Many of you probably know the actor Will Smith and his wife, who is also an actress, Jada Pinkett Smith. She was quoted in an interview this week, and in the interview she said very simply that she wasn't sure that her marriage is going to survive the quarantine. She basically said, Will is here all the time now, and that's very difficult to handle. She said they always stay connected and working in various places and staying connected to their children, but now he's just here all the time. You don't have to raise your hand if you can relate to this or you have some strong feelings about that. I don't want to get anyone in trouble this morning. But one of the things that she did say in that conversation, in that interview, she said that she and Will are having to rebuild a friendship and actually learn how to have a conversation with each other. And that phrase, the need to learn how to have a conversation, caught my attention from that interview. It reminded me of an author that I followed for quite some time, Dr. Sherry Turkle, who is a professor of social studies and science at MIT. In the 90s, Dr. Turkle wrote a book about the excitement and the possibilities of technology and social media and chat rooms and virtual conversation. And she saw the potential of what it could bring and maybe some of the ways that it could enhance our culture and increase connectivity among us. Now, as she is looking back on that work, she has begun to see some of the not so great effects of technology on relationships and intimacy. In 2011, she wrote a book called Alone Together and explored how we turn to companionship from our devices. Interviewing hundreds of people for research, she discovered that our expectations from people are often very low, and our expectations of our technology are very, very high, that we can't deal with a person not functioning correctly in our lives, but really can't deal with our technology not functioning very well in our lives. And in that process, we have grown uncomfortable with being alone. And so we often turn to technology to ease that anxiety. And the ironic thing is that in our ability to be alone, our inability to be alone, we are actually creating extreme loneliness. We are experiencing this pseudo connection that is not allowing us to experience real connection. And Dr. Turkle even goes on to say that in future generations, if they do not learn how to be alone, then they will be guaranteed a life of loneliness. She also had a recent book in 2015 where she entitled and engaged the theme of reclaiming conversation and outlining another effect of the age of technology that we've forgotten or haven't maybe even never learned how to be relational and have a conversation. A college student wrote to her and said, you know, not today, but maybe one day, and definitely not today, I would like to learn how to have a conversation. Conversations happen in real time, and because they happen in real time, you don't get to edit what you say. And we often like to edit ourselves, not just our words, but our image, all of who we are. And so we don't allow our messy selves to be seen over the realm of technology in ways that our messy self is inevitably exposed in conversations and relationship. We are lonely, and at the same time, we're afraid of intimacy. So we settle for the illusion of companionship from our devices without the demands of friendship. I'm going to try something this morning, and I'm going to look at the gallery view just to see all those who are out there. And I know some of you have headphones, so this might not work, but I just want to see how many people have a virtual relationship out there, especially if you can hear me on speaker. If I just say the words, Alexa, bark like a dog. want to see how many people are trying to silence their Alexa devices right now, as my kids are trying to silence ours here as well. It's pretty amazing, the relationship that we have built with Siri, Alexa, voices, and of course the wonderful movie of exploring movies that have explored those kinds of relationships, and how much energy we can have. I find myself often arguing with Alexa, especially if she doesn't give me the right information or doesn't hear the question correctly. I will say, Alexa, what were you thinking? And now she responds, I wasn't thinking, you're not thinking. And we get into this great conversation. But we spend time and are spending a lot of energy on our culture wiring a device that's suited for relationship, and are developing devices that can display empathy and listening skills and provide feedback for those who are hurting. And spending all this time wiring a device suited for relationship, we may have missed that we ourselves are already wired for relationship. Parker Palmer was a writer that I was introduced to during my Christian years, who has stayed connected to me today in my spirituality. His book, To Know As We Are Known, is a home base for me that I return to often when I need to be reminded of the value and the capacity for relationship. I'm reminded that we certainly have been equipped with senses to experience our world around us, and we have been equipped with a rational mind to observe and to understand our world. And at the same time, we have also been equipped with intuition, empathy, emotion, hope, and belief. And wholeness can come from a partnership of both those empirical sensations and reason alongside the non-empirical, non-rational faculties that remind us that we are as complex internally as the world that we want to know externally. Relationship calls us not to just be connected to each other, to not just know some facts and details that we could learn on any given Facebook post or respond to with a like or dislike or another emoji, but to take the risk to know each other and be known. Parker Palmer writes in his book that relationships of the self require not only sensory evidence of the other, not only logical linkages of cause and effect, they also require inner understanding of the other, which comes from empathy, a sense of others' values, which comes from love, a feel for its origins and its ends, which comes from faith, and a respect for its integrity and selfhood, which comes from respecting our own. We exercise these relational muscles as we risk developing mutuality with people who share our values for the inherent worth and dignity of each person, but we may not share the same beliefs, same personalities, commonalities, likes and dislikes, viewpoints and understanding of truth and meaning of spirituality. We do the work of listening and understanding the other as we fulfill our need to be seen and to be known and to understand. Palmer goes on to write that the deepest calling in our quest for knowledge is not to observe and analyze and alter things. Instead, it is a personal participation in the organic community of human and non-human being, participation in the network of caring and the accountability called truth. The crucial difference between observing and relating is that a relationship is always two-way. As we use the full range of human instruments to know reality, we find that we are also known. The world we can know through our senses and our logic is a world that cannot speak to us about ourselves. With this limited mode of knowing, not only does the non-human world remain inarticulate, but the human world is deprived of its voices as we transform people into objects and things. But when we know through our other capacities as well, empathy, intuition, compassion, spirituality, we pick up the world's subtle signals, its subvocal speech, its messages to us about our limitations and responsibilities and potentials. When we allow the whole self to know in relationship, we come into a community of mutual knowing in which we will be transformed even as we transform. What a gift we have here at the UUCC. It's a safe space to relax and grow in our comfort of ourselves, the acceptance of ourselves, and the understanding of ourselves. What a gift we have here at the UUCC to covenant together in community and be a place to practice the art of listening, a place to practice empathy, a place to nurture our minds, our senses, and our emotional selves. We have the great opportunity to build relationships with people who bring us comfort, as well as those who push us beyond our comfort zone. We do not settle for connection here at the UUCC. We relentlessly pursue conversation and relationship, taking the time to truly know others in an intimate way and covenanting with each other to risk the vulnerability of being seen and known. I want to be with people like you, and I'm so glad to be able to be a part of the UUCC. Anna's going to come and introduce us to our closing hymn this morning.
Our closing hymn this morning is We Would Be One. And I invite you to try something a little different with me in singing this today. Hopefully it's a familiar hymn and a familiar melody. So rather than lead by singing today, I'm simply going to play the hymn on piano and invite you to sing verses 1 and 2. As usual, we will be muted, but you're all invited to sing from your homes. I'll play a short introduction before the first verse.
So as we leave this gathering today and we disconnect our video and our audio, we shut down our devices, may we keep our eyes open to seeing